October 17, 2024, Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar killed in Gaza. Israel says Yahya Sinwar is one of the most prominent and powerful leaders of Hamas, the Palestinian Islamist militant organization that controls the Gaza Strip. His rise to power and influence is rooted in his long-standing role within Hamas, where he has been both a military leader and a political figure. Below is a detailed account of Yahya Sinwar's life, from his early years to his role as one of the most influential and controversial figures in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Early life and background. Yahya Sinwar was born in Khan Younis, a city in the southern Gaza Strip, in 1962. Growing up in a refugee camp, Sinwar was exposed to the hardships faced by Palestinians living under Israeli occupation. His formative years were shaped by the growing resistance against Israeli rule, and like many young men in Gaza, Sinwar was drawn to the Palestinian nationalist movement. In the late 1970s and 1980s, Gaza was becoming a hotbed for resistance movements, particularly as tensions between Palestinians and Israelis continued to escalate. During this time, Sinwar became actively involved in the activities of Hamas, which was founded in 1987 as an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. Founding role in Hamas. Sinwar is often credited as one of the co-founders of Hamas's military wing, known as the Izz ad-Din al-Qassam Brigades. He played a significant role in building Hamas into a formidable militant organization, engaging in armed resistance against Israeli forces. One of Sinwar's key activities in the 1980s involved organizing intelligence and security operations for Hamas. His activities eventually led to his arrest by Israeli authorities in 1988, following his involvement in the killing of Palestinians suspected of collaborating with Israel. Sinwar was given multiple life sentences by an Israeli military court and spent more than 2 decades in Israeli prisons. Time in prison, radicalization and leadership. Sinwar's time in Israeli prisons proved to be a crucial period in his development as a Hamas leader. While imprisoned, he continued to exert influence over Hamas's operations from behind bars, strengthening his leadership credentials. He also gained a reputation as a hardliner, advocating for an uncompromising stance in Hamas's resistance against Israel. In prison, Sinwar became an ideological figure for many young Hamas members, solidifying his views on armed resistance, the liberation of Palestine, and the rejection of negotiations with Israel. His experience in prison deepened his resolve and commitment to Hamas's core mission, the establishment of an Islamic State in all of historical Palestine. Release and rise to power. Yahya Sinwar's fortunes changed in 2011 when he was released from prison as part of a prisoner exchange deal between Israel and Hamas. The exchange, which was mediated by Egypt, saw over 1,000 Palestinian prisoners freed in return for the release of Gilad Shalit, an Israeli soldier who had been captured by Hamas in 2006. Sinwar's release allowed him to return to Gaza, where he quickly became a key figure in Hamas's leadership. Over time, he consolidated his power within the organization, particularly within its military wing, and gained a reputation for his ruthless decision-making and strategic prowess. Ascension to Hamas leadership. In 2017, Sinwar was elected as the leader of Hamas in the Gaza Strip, replacing Ismail Haniyeh. His appointment signaled a shift in Hamas's internal dynamics, as he represented the military wing of Hamas rather than the more politically inclined leadership based in Qatar or the West Bank. As the leader of Hamas in Gaza, Sinwar was responsible for overseeing the organization's military and political strategy. His leadership has been marked by several significant events, including the 2018-2019 Gaza-Israel border protests, often referred to as the Great March of Return, mass demonstrations that often turned violent, leading to clashes with Israeli forces. Rocket attacks and other military operations against Israel, including conflicts in May 2021, when Hamas launched thousands of rockets into Israel in response to tensions in Jerusalem, leading to an 11-day war. Sinwar has remained a hardliner, advocating for continued armed resistance against Israel while also engaging in indirect negotiations through Egypt to maintain ceasefires and secure relief for Gaza's population. Views and policies. Yahya Sinwar is known for his rigid stance against Israel. He has repeatedly rejected negotiations with Israel that do not involve a full withdrawal from territories occupied since 1967, including East Jerusalem. Under his leadership, Hamas has continued to develop its military capabilities, including the construction of an extensive network of tunnels used for smuggling and attacks against Israeli targets. At the same time, Sinwar has also demonstrated pragmatism at times, engaging in indirect negotiations with Israel through Egyptian mediators to secure temporary truces and alleviate the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza. His leadership has balanced between maintaining Hamas's militant posture while also addressing the social and economic needs of Gaza's population. Controversies and criticism. Yahya Sinwar has been a highly controversial figure, both within the Palestinian territories and internationally. Critics argue that his leadership has contributed to the continued cycle of violence in Gaza, as well as the humanitarian crisis caused by repeated conflicts with Israel. His refusal to disarm Hamas's military wing and his commitment to continued attacks on Israeli targets have drawn condemnation from many in the international community. On the other hand, Sinwar enjoys widespread support among hardliners in Gaza, who see him as a defender of Palestinian rights and a bulwark against Israeli aggression. His uncompromising stance resonates with those who have lost hope in a diplomatic solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Sinwar's health and recent developments. Reports have circulated in recent years regarding Sinwar's health, with some suggesting that he has been battling cancer. Despite these reports, he continues to play a central role in Hamas's leadership and remains a key figure in shaping the future of Gaza and the broader Palestinian resistance movement. Future prospects. As of now, Yahya Sinwar remains one of the most important figures in Hamas and the broader Palestinian political landscape. His leadership will likely continue to shape the dynamics of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, particularly in Gaza. However, Sinwar faces numerous challenges. International pressure. Israel and its allies continue to target Hamas leadership, and Sinwar has survived several assassination attempts. Internal Palestinian politics. The divide between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank continues to undermine Palestinian unity. Sinwar's hardline stance complicates efforts for reconciliation. Humanitarian crisis. Gaza's population continues to suffer under a severe blockade, poverty, and the destruction caused by repeated conflicts. Conclusion. Yahya Sinwar's journey from a refugee in Gaza to a leader of Hamas is a testament to the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He remains a deeply polarizing figure, hailed as a hero by some Palestinians and condemned as a terrorist by Israel and its allies. His leadership has and will continue to influence the trajectory of Gaza, Hamas, and the broader conflict in the region. October 17, 2024. Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar killed in Gaza, Israel says.